On today's Locked On Nationals, what would my starting rotation look like entering 2025? We'll discuss that and more.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, and of course, the video version. You can see a little bit of the new studio on YouTube. Just search up Locked On Nationals. And shout out to Mary and Nancy for making this happen. A little bit later on in today's program, ESPN and Major League Baseball are going through a bit of a breakup. And how does this tie in with the Nationals? I'll tell you about that later on in the show. In the second segment, where do some of the other starters fit in this organization? If you haven't known, the Nationals are loaded with starting pitching prospects at this point. Where do some of the guys who will not crack the opening day roster fit? Will they be in the bullpen? Will they be down in AAA? We'll discuss some of those guys, but after I give you my starting rotation for 2025. Before we get into it, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. So we get started discussing the national starting rotation, as tomorrow you have got Jake Irvin on the bump for the first spring training game for your Washington Nationals. And let's not get too spicy with this. It's pretty simple if you kind of go down to it. As we get in deeper in this rotation, this is when the questions come into play. But my number one starter as we head into 2025, it's got to be Mackenzie Gore. Mackenzie Gore, each of the past two seasons, has taken that step up, and being a former top 10 prospect, we all thought when the Nationals first traded for him that he was going to be the ace. Well, that's what he is at this point. Now, if we're going to kind of get into the semantics of it, I don't necessarily think that Mackenzie Gore is like the best ace out there. I'm not even thinking that Mackenzie Gore will be your ace going into 2026. One of my top needs this offseason was to get someone to be that opening day starter, to be that guy to pitch in Game 7 of the World Series. You need your Max Scherzer of the 2020s. We don't have that, in my opinion, on this roster. But as of right now, Mackenzie Gore, he does fit that label, and he's got the stuff for it. This past season, while it wasn't some crazy good year, you can still go in pretty confidently saying, this is our best starting pitcher right now at this point. Now, on the flip side of the coin here, Mackenzie Gore also has some moments where you're like, what went wrong? How could you go from 5 innings pitched, giving up 2 hits, to in that 6th inning, it's blown up, 5 earned runs, and then all of a sudden the bases are juiced and we're now losing a game? He does have those moments where it's a little frustrating, to say the least. But when you kind of get more deeper into it, I think Mackenzie Gore kind of plays head games with himself. And the reason why I say that is you see him out there on the mound. He wears all the emotions. You see everything. It is a roller coaster out there. That is like the frustrating part with Mackenzie Gore. You saw it a lot with, again, Max Scherzer. The difference is between Max Scherzer and Mackenzie Gore is Scherzer's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Multiple-time Cy Young winner, one of the best pitchers of the 2010s, and one of the best players in Nationals history. Mackenzie Gore is good, but I'm not sure if he's great at this point yet. So as of right now, yes, he is going to be my number one, but that's going to have to be addressed if he doesn't take that next step up that we've all been anticipating so far. My number 2 starter is Jake Irvin, the guy who will be on the mound tomorrow in the Nationals' first spring training game. Jake Irvin's in a very similar situation. But the thing is, with Jake Irvin, the stuff is completely different. I do think Jake Irvin is like a 3-4 starter on a postseason team. But is he a 2? I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sold on him being a 2 starter moving forward. But I can tell you this. He is a major league pitcher. He is going to be a qualified, like, bona fide guy in this rotation that we can all say he's going to be a solid outing every 5 days. I think if we go into this season expecting Jake Irvin to be a number 2, you're probably going to be disappointed because that's not what he is. In reality, again, he should be a 3 or a 4 starter. Now, with him in this role, I do think Jake Irvin will be good. I think that overall his stuff will play as a 2 starter, but still, the Nationals did not address the rotation on a rate that they should have this past offseason. But going into it now, I do think Jake Irvin will kind of take those steps up where you're like asking yourself, is this guy your number 2? Can he be an all-star? He could be. He had all-star stuff in the first half of 2024, but can he finish that? Because that's what kind of when the wheels fell off. In the second half of the season, when it gets really hot here in DC, the humidity is just out of this world, and it sucks. It sucks to pitch and it sucks to play and to wear long pants when it's 95 degrees out and feels like 110. It sucks playing in the heat. But these are all things that the other team is also going to be facing. That whole 9 players out there on the diamond, they're also going to be facing it. So these are the questions that you're going to have to consider with the national starting rotation. But those are my first 2 guys. And then you've got Trevor Williams, your number 3. Now, Trevor Williams, this past season, statistically was the Nationals' best starter. Now, he had that elbow injury and was shut down for a few months, came back and looked really good again. My point with Trevor Williams has always been this. He is pitching out of the role that he's actually successful in. Like, I think Trevor Williams is a great fireman. Comes out of the bullpen, saves the day a little bit, eats up innings, and that's what he does well at. And he can also keep you in a ball game and make that spot start. But in this organization right now, in the way that he pitched this past season, he falls in as your number 3 guy. And with that in mind, Trevor Williams is a team leader. Like, he is the veteran presence right now on this pitching staff. And that is an important thing to have, especially when you have Jake Irvin, who just has about 2 years of service time here. Mackenzie Gore, same situation. And you've also got other guys who have been injured and have also coming up from the minor leagues to make their debuts here soon. So yes, while Trevor Williams, I would not personally want him to be my 3 starter heading into 2026. That's where he fills in as of right now. And he could be good because the thing is, I can't ignore the stats. He was good this past season, but can he do it again? Because he has done this before. He has been a good quality starter back in 2022 at the New York Mets, right after the Nationals signed him to that 2-year deal. He was okay in that 2022 season. But is he going to repeat that yet again? That's a question that at this point, I don't know if I'm willing to answer it. But with that in mind, your number 4 starter. This is when the questions start to come up. It is DJ Hurst. And if you look at his numbers from this past season, and really in the second half overall, DJ Hurst was the best starting pitcher this national staff had. Having over 100 strikeouts and 19 starts, I believe, from 2024, DJ Hurst has the second highest ceiling as far as national starters go. It's right behind Mackenzie Gore. He's kind of the big question entering spring training. What is going to be the angle that the national staff goes for here? Do they think that he should be down in AAA to get some innings in before he makes his appearance up in the majors? Should he be in the bullpen moving forward? If I'm Davey Martinez and Mike Rizzo making these decisions, DJ Hurst has to be in your starting rotation. And it's not a lock, by the way. Some people out there think it's a complete lock that DJ Hurst is going to be your hefty lefty coming up and striking people out. That's not going to be the case. It's not a lock at all, in fact. At this point, He will likely be in the rotation, but he is certainly competing for a job. And let me reiterate this point. He should not be. This should be a pen on paper on your rotation, opening day, making 28 starts this season. That's what it should be. And I'm not convinced that it will be that, by the way. But I did see this with DJ Hers. Andrew Golden from the Washington Post wrote a really good story about DJ Hers. And actually, my apologies, it was Spencer Newsbaum from the Washington Post. He wrote a story about DJ Hers and kind of the things that he has worked on this offseason. And the number one thing that we have talked about with DJ Hers is his command. That was his big kind of working point this offseason. One of the first guys to report to West Palm Beach, one of the first guys to be in the clubhouse, one of the last guys out. He has worked his tail off. This is the guy that I am excited to see because, again, he does have that potential to be a top-of-the-line starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. And it could happen right here for your Washington Nationals. But in order to make that happen, you're going to have him in that rotation. And I'm not sure if Davey Martinez and Mike Rizzo think that that's going to be the future for DJ Hers. But I can tell you this, that's what it should be. Because this guy has one of the highest ceilings on this starting rotation staff. Last but not least, Michael Soroka. Now, the only reason why I have him in here, if it were up to me, he'd be in that Trevor Williams role, where I want him to be in the bullpen, come up and eat innings, and kind of be that Javi Guerra of 2019. Well, Davey Martinez has said he's a starter. Mike Rizzo has said he's going to be our starter. They gave him $9 million for this year, which was a pretty lucrative deal after coming off a pretty poor season with the White Sox as a starter, but as a bullpen guy, he was really good. So they think that they can kind of get that and tap that potential once again, because back with the Atlanta Braves, he was an all-star. He was one of the fast rising guys in the game as a pitcher, and then he tore his Achilles not once, but twice. And ever since then, he just hasn't really been able to find that spark as a starter. But he's going to be your fifth guy to start off, and I'm a little down on it overall. I don't know if you could tell. But with that in mind, I do think Soroka has the potential to jump back into it and be that guy that you can kind of stretch out and maybe give a rest start after every 4 or 5 starts, kind of stretch him out, make sure his arm is all right, make sure his legs are good as well, because again, having that Achilles injury could be killer for someone like him. So just kind of go through it. Mackenzie Gore's going to be your 1. Jake Irvin's going to be your 2. Trevor Williams is going to be your 3. DJ Hers is your 4. And Michael Soroka, he's going to be your 5th starter. And that's my national starting rotation entering 2025. Now, with that in mind, there's some names that are left off this list, like Mitchell Parker, who looked really good this past season. You've got Cade Cavalli coming off Tommy John, missed this entire last 2 seasons, basically. Then you've also got some top end pitchers as well that are going to be in this organization. Where do all these guys fit as of right now? I'll tell you more about that after we tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. And of course, I have told you all about FanDuel. And when the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. And there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. If you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3. And I never feel like I miss my chance. Plus, the app is so easy to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly. And we all love that. So right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So we just gave you the starting rotation for 2025 and what I think should happen. But there are some guys who are left off this list, including former first-round pick Cade Cavalli. So Cade Cavalli is 100% healthy entering spring training. We all thought that he'd be back early summer of 2024. That did not happen. He never made it back up into the major leagues. But where does he fall now? I think that Cade Cavalli at this point is probably going to be a bullpen piece. And that's not like a bad thing to say at this point. He is coming off 2 missed seasons, full missed seasons, by the way, I may add. And I'm not sure where his velocity stands. Like, what separated Cade Cavalli was the fact that he threw nearly 100 miles per hour, and also he had a nasty breaking pitch. Coming off Tommy John, where again you have missed 2 full years, where are those pitches? Where do they stand? I can't see that at this point. We haven't really seen any reports of where his fastball stands. Is it like in the mid-90s? Because one thing, if you think back and you all know the name, Steven Strasburg, he was Cade Cavalli, except a much bigger prospect, obviously. But he was throwing 100, and that's what everyone talked about. And then Tommy John happened. He completely reinvented himself and had nasty side pitches, had a 95-mile-per-hour fastball, and he was a finesse pitcher. That's what he came to be. But not everyone's Steven Strasburg. And to think that Cade Cavalli could be that is silly. Because he's good, but again, this is not a Cy Young winning kind of pitcher. We're not expecting that. And so at this point, I think the Nationals will try to work him into the bullpen. Now, it's not going to happen in the first few months of the season. I think Cade Cavalli probably joins the Nationals maybe in mid-June. And will he be a starter at first? There's a chance, but also, where does his stuff lie? I think that's a huge question as we kind of get into this, but if it were up to me, he's going to be one of your bullpen guys. And it's not the end of the world. You might think that this is a failure, a former first-round pick, a former top prospect. Why isn't he in the rotation on opening day? Well, it's not that easy. And if he doesn't have the stuff, then he simply cannot be in this starting rotation because, again, what made him special may not make him special in 2025. So Cade Cavalli, if it were up to me, he's going to be one of your back-end bullpen pieces moving forward, and we figure out the rest. Mitchell Parker, he's going to be your 6th guy. When the Nationals, because again, someone's going to get hurt. It's baseball. It's a 162-game marathon. When someone gets hurt, Mitchell Parker will be the next guy up. Now, I think the bigger question for him is, does he start in AAA or does he start in the bullpen? If it were up to me, this may not be the brightest of takes for Nationals fans out there, but he should probably start in AAA because there is no doubt in my mind at this point that you should continue to try Mitchell Parker as a starter and not just leave him out in the bullpen. Give him every 5 days to make that start, have him get some innings in, and then eventually, if Michael Soroka gets hurt, or if DJ Hurst is struggling, or if Trevor Williams is struggling, or whatever happens over the course of a season, Mitchell Parker is there and is ready to make those starts. Because he did have a good season. Like, there is some potential there. Even if he might not be a starter long term, I still think that it's way too early to just completely quit this. You got to continue to try. And Parker has proven now over the last few years that he is a legit pitching prospect for this team. He has had some really good seasons down in the minors. Maybe last year was just an appetizer of what we could get from Mitchell Parker. But right now, again, start him down in AAA if he does not make the starting rotation, and don't have him be in the bullpen because we aren't sure about what this guy could be as a starter. He could be really good still. But if it were a long-term kind of guess, he might just be a bullpen guy or one of those 4A players that will be up and down from the minors and up into the majors, but he does have potential. And I think it's way too early for the Nationals to quit on him. Josiah Gray, another one of these guys, he's going to be a starter for the Nationals. Does he get back this season? That's probably the bigger question, because coming off Tommy John surgery, the rehab seems to be going really well with him. He has been all around West Palm Beach. He's been doing fielding drills. Hasn't been thrown off a mound yet, but he has been throwing little short toss games. So it seems to be going well for him. If it comes down to this, you probably have to shut down Josiah for the entire season and see what happens down the line. But Josiah Gray is also a starter. And then when he comes up to the majors, if you have all 5 of your guys, Gore, Irvin, Williams, Hurst, and Soroka healthy, then what happens? That's probably a bigger question that we'll tackle as the season goes on. But then also there's one of the top pitching prospects, Harleen Susana. He's going to start likely in high A and work his way up to double A. Then after that, it's triple A, and then it's the majors. But I would not be totally shocked if this September you see him up in the majors. Because again, the Nationals are really high on him. He's a top 100 prospect. He's your second best pitching prospect in the organization. At just 20 years old, his stuff is like next level. We talk about Paul Skeens, and for good reason, by the way. Paul Skeens is one of one. But Harleen Susana does a lot of the same stuff here. He's got a nasty slider, and he has got a nasty fastball. Throwing 102 miles per hour. Like, you do not see that from any just average Joe down in the minors. This guy has swing and miss potential. He has racked up a ton of strikeouts throughout his minor league career, and he is certainly going to be a starter for this team moving forward. But again, he's going to have to wait his turn because this rotation is absolutely loaded. Now, let's get into this. Major League Baseball and ESPN have broken up, and it's kind of one of those weird things where it's like, could baseball be in trouble? We'll discuss that after we tell you about our friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. And are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts, and each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep fueling yourself fuller for longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety, and it's a perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm at work and snacking at my desk or I'm on a road trip to West Palm Beach. You just need a quick protein boost, and they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Just visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Again, visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So as we were saying, MLB and ESPN have mutually split up, and this is a pretty big deal. This was from Evan Drellich from The Athletic, or the New York Times rather, that ESPN and MLB are no longer national TV partners after this season, and they have mutually agreed to opt out of the final 3 years of their deal. And this is kind of one of those things where a lot of people are weirdly happy about it. And I was like, well, why would you be happy? ESPN is the worldwide leader of sports. And it's, yes, like, this is a thing. Is it because of what the Nationals, or not the Nationals, is it because of baseball just kind of maybe taking a dip in TV ratings? I don't necessarily think, though. I think Major League Baseball has something up their sleeve. I think that baseball, at some point, will probably hop on that Netflix wave. And if you aren't aware, Netflix, this past Christmas, they broadcasted all the Christmas games, all 3 of them, from 1 p.m. all the way to 11 p.m. They saw the success of that. More people today are streaming than having a cable service, or like YouTube TV, similar stuff like that. I think Major League Baseball, eventually over these next few seasons, and after this CBA is up, which, by the way, it's up after 2025, You could be seeing a streaming service for Sunday Night Baseball. But not only that, you could be seeing streaming services for all of baseball games. And if you're a Nationals fan, you all know what I'm going to get to here. You could be seeing a totally new regional sports network. MASN might be no more. This might be Major League Baseball really kind of pushing away from the cable days and saying, we need to get on streaming, because that is what the NFL has done. And this could be a smart move, not only for baseball, for just sports in general at this point. This is where the money is made, in streaming. And if baseball does this, then you could be seeing a totally new sports network for your Nationals. And we'll see what overall happens, but there's a lot of smoke. So there's going to be a fire at some point that they'll have to put out. So I will catch you guys on the flip side. With that in mind, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Nationals baseball tomorrow with Jake Irvin on the bump. I cannot wait. And of course, we'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.